What if the most dangerous move happening right now wasn't being announced at all? While the headlines argue, while the markets guess, while the world waits for a press conference, Donald J. Trump has already moved the pieces, and Iran knows it, because this isn't theory anymore. This isn't rhetoric. This is not posturing. The USS Abraham Lincoln, this is a 100,000-ton floating air base. It didn't just change course. It didn't just redeploy. It went dark. No transponder, no tracking, no announcements. Now, that only happens for one reason. And here's why this matters for you. Every time global conflicts hit this stage, it's never the politicians who pay first. It's energy prices, markets, supply chains, and families who feel it before a single shot is fired, before a nuke is dropped. You don't get a warning label when the cost of living spikes or retirement accounts swing overnight, do you? Now, behind the scenes, the United States Navy, the United States Department of Defense, and the United States Central Command have quietly locked forces into place.
We have a big force going toward Iran. I stopped 837 hangings. You hang those people, you're going to be hit harder than you've ever been hit. It'll make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts.
And Iran is responding the only way regimes do when the clock starts running out. The world may have missed the signal. Tehran didn't. And the next 72 hours will tell us whether this ends in deterrence or something that changes everything. Be sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so when the US Abraham Lincoln shuts off its transponder, that wasn't routine navigation. This was a message. US Navy carriers do not go dark casually. This only happens when operational secrecy becomes more important than signaling presence. Historically, this step appears right before kinetic options move from theoretical to executable. Now, a carrier doesn't disappear unless commanders want adversaries guessing where and when the strike window opens. Now, that uncertainty is the weapon. The Lincoln isn't a ship. It's like a floating airbase capable of launching sustained combat operations for weeks on end. Turning off their tracking denies Iran targeting confidence and compresses their reaction time. Now, I want you to understand this. Deterrence is loud. Pre-strike positioning is quiet. So when tracking goes dark, planners are no longer asking if, they're refining how.
Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier just went dark while transiting toward Iran, and the world is holding its breath. The nuclear-powered supercarrier crossed the Strait of Malacca and entered the Bay of Bengal, but then turned off its transponder and is now traveling dark, according to marinetraffic.com monitoring system.
Publicly, Donald J. Trump sounded measured like he always does. There were no dramatic speeches. There were no red line ultimatums. That calm right there, that calm tone, wasn't just restraint, it was cover. So while reporters focused on rhetoric, the U.S. Central Command was quietly locking assets into place. This is classic misdirection doctrine. Create diplomatic fog while military options solidify behind the scenes.
Revelation comes as the president renewed warnings to Tehran against killing protesters or restarting its nuclear program.
Trump clearly understands that escalation isn't announced, it's assembled. Carriers reposition, bombers stage, fighters forward deploy, military defenses reinforce, all without triggering panic until the pieces are already set into place. This is how you play chess with real pieces in the real world. This is why Iran is scrambling internally. Regimes fear silence more than threats. Silence means decisions are already made. So by the time that Trump speaks clearly, the board's already rearranged. The public hears calm, Tehran sees momentum, and momentum is terrifying when it's not yours. Now, look, moments like this, they are the reminder of how fast things lock in before people realize what's even happening. Now, if you ask retirees what they wish they had done earlier, a lot of them will give the same answer. They wish they had checked their Medicare plan before it was too late. Now, they want to do this not because something went wrong immediately, but because once a year passes, your coverage is already locked in. And fixing a bad decision later is always harder than checking it early. Trust me. This is why so many people are quietly reviewing their Medicare coverage now instead of assuming last year's plan still works. Now, most people already learned that lesson the easy way. Most people, they're already dialing the phone number at the bottom of your screen, totally free, 909-563-8279, or they're clicking the link down below in the description to go to askchapter.org/Ron to make sure that they're not exposed. Oh, and when you do call, tell them your friend Ron says hello. All right, so let's get back to what's unfolding, because this is where the pressure really starts to build. Now, this is where the narrative really changes. What's assembling right now is no longer symbolic deterrence. It is operational mass. The USS Abraham Lincoln isn't moving alone. Destroyers, likely a nuclear attacked submarine, forward deployed fighter squadrons, and even long-range bombers, they're all aligning inside the same window.
The carrier strike group includes flagship USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, with 3 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, USS Spruance, USS Michael Murphy, and USS Frank E. Peterson Jr.
Now that convergence matters. Militaries don't stack assets like this unless they expect to use them. In early 2003, this exact pattern appeared just before Iraq. Carrier groups, bomber task forces, missile defenses, logistics trains, all synchronized. Pentagon learned long ago that decisive force requires simultaneity, not sequence. So here's the big shift here, okay, guys? Once these assets overlap geographically and temporally, pulling them back becomes harder than moving forward. Momentum builds pressure, and pressure creates deadlines, not just for Washington, D.C., but for Tehran watching this armada solidify. Now, Iran understands something that most commentators don't. Once U.S. carriers enter the Arabian Sea, the initiative is gone. I mean, from that point forward, reaction time collapses from days down to hours. Decision makers inside of Tehran, they know that airspace dominance, missile suppression, and even command disruption can happen faster than orders can be issued. This is why this feels frantic behind the scenes. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps isn't debating ideology, it's calculating survivability. When strike platforms are close enough, even perfect intelligence doesn't buy you safety. Here's where it gets worse. Iran's leadership must decide before the window closes. Disperse missiles, harden leadership, activate proxies, or hold fire and hope deterrence works. Hesitation is deadly in compressed timelines, and right now, Iran's clock isn't measured in weeks, it is measured in hours.
Think about what that means. A 100,000-ton aircraft carrier carrying 90 combat aircraft just disappeared from tracking systems while heading towards strike position against Iran.
So when Iran starts shutting down internet access and restricting internal movement and dispersing missile units, trust me, this is not confidence. This is fear management. Regimes don't clamp inward unless they expect external shock. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they clearly understand that the first phase of any U.S. operation is not bombing, it's chaos. Cutting communication limits protest coordination, but most importantly, it prevents panic inside the military itself. Dispersing missile systems into hardened or mobile positions reduces losses, but it also fractures command control. Now that's a trade-off only made when leaders believe centralized control is already at risk. So look, internal darkness is defensive camouflage. Iran is not preparing to win. It is preparing to attempt to survive the opening blows. And when survival becomes the goal, strategic options shrink real fast.
As Tehran's crackdown on protesters killed thousands and Trump threatened intervention, satellite imagery captured by Copernicus detected the Lincoln making a westward turn in the South China Sea on January 15th.
Look, I want you to consider the aircraft involved and the mission becomes obvious, okay? You've got F-35s for stealth penetration. You've got F-15E, which is the Strike Eagles, for massive payload delivery. You've got EA-18G Growlers to blind radar and communications, B-2 bombers for hardened underground targets, Tomahawk missiles to overwhelm defenses from distance. This deadly combination doesn't appear for limiting signals, okay? This appears when air defenses, command nodes, and missile infrastructures are priority targets. The United States Department of Defense designs packages just like this only when planners expect layered resistance and they want to collapse it quickly. So once this mix is assembled, it can't sit idle for very long. Crews rotate, intelligence windows close, momentum builds. This is why Iran sees this not as pressure, but as a countdown. Now, the pattern you're watching here today, it's not just military. Here's something nobody wants to admit. When you start building real assets, nothing exciting happens. There's no dopamine hit. There's no visible lifestyle change. There's no applause. And that silence is exactly why people end up quitting. They would rather spend, upgrade, splurge, or even wait on permission for a raise from their boss than sit through the quiet phase where assets are actually being built. But that quiet phase, that's where the advantage is created. This is why flywheel income society isn't for people who need instant feedback or constant validation. This is for people who understand that meaningful outcomes are delayed by design. And that patience, it's not weakness. This is leverage. Now, if you're looking for quick wins, I'll tell you right now, this is not it. But if you want to learn how disciplined people feed assets long enough for those assets to start covering obligations quietly, steadily, without short shortcuts. That way of thinking is exactly what we talk about inside of Flywheel Income Society. So yeah, if you want to learn how to build recurring income streams, click the link in the description down below. Join us over in the Flywheel Income Society. All right, so let's get back to what this force buildup here really means, because now the consequences are starting to spread outward. Now, privately, Benjamin Netanyahu, he delivered a message that Washington couldn't ignore. Israel cannot absorb a full Iranian retaliation alone. That warning matters because it's not political, it's operational. Now, during the June 2025 conflict, Israeli air defenses intercepted thousands of threats, but the limits were exposed. Interceptors ran low, response times tightened, saturation became the danger. Here's the new angle. Israel doesn't fear a single strike. It fears a coordinated one. Ballistic missiles from Iran, rockets from Lebanon, drones from Yemen, and cyber disruptions all at once. This is why Israel pressed for overwhelming American presence before any trigger is pulled. Now, I think the message is clear. If deterrence fails, survivability depends on scale, and that scale is now being assembled. So, Iran's biggest leverage has always been its proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthi movement, and aligned militias across Iraq and Syria. But here's the problem. If you activate these all at once, it weakens Iran and it doesn't strengthen it. Why? Because proxies are deterrence assets, not disposable weapons. Once they're fired, they invite direct retaliation that Tehran can't easily control. Hezbollah rockets bring Israeli devastation. Houthi strikes threaten global shipping and trigger multinational responses. Iraq militia attacks force U.S. escalation inside Iraq itself. So Iran can escalate through proxies, but it can't de-escalate them. And that's the problem. Once they're unleashed, momentum shifts away from Tehran. And right now, Iran needs control, not chaos, as American forces lock into position. So when governments evacuate non-essential personnel, they're admitting something without saying it out loud. The decision to pull civilians and support staff from bases in Qatar, it wasn't political, it was mathematical. Evacuations happen only after retaliation timelines are modeled and they're deemed unacceptable. This is the clearest pre-strike indicator because it's irreversible signaling. Once people leave, markets notice, allies notice, adversaries notice. The United States Department of Defense does not disrupt regional operations lightly. Doing so means planners believe Iranian response vectors are real, imminent, and potentially severe. So, evacuations don't prevent war, they prepare for it. They assume missiles will fly somewhere, and once that assumption is baked in, decision makers are no longer debating risk, they're managing consequences. Iran's most powerful threat, closing the Strait of Hormuz. This is also its most dangerous gamble. Look, roughly 20% of the world's oil flows through that corridor. Shutting it doesn't just hurt the West, it hurts Asia, Europe, and emerging economies immediately. So, the moment the tanker traffic is disrupted, this stops being a US-Iran conflict. It becomes an international crisis. Naval coalitions form, insurance markets freeze, energy prices spike. Just look at oil prices and gas prices, and pressure mounts on every government to restore flow by force if necessary. This is why Iran hesitates. Using the Strait of Hormuz as leverage invites global intervention, not concession. The threat sounds powerful until you realize that it activates the very international response that Tehran fears the most. Iran's strongest card forces it to play its weakest hand. Not a good move for them. So let me go ahead and say this, okay? This moment here, it really kind of feels different because too many indicators are stacking at the same time. Not one signal, not one headline, but a pattern. You've got a carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, going dark, okay? You've got forward positioned air power being discussed in the same breath as evacuations and missile defense reinforcement. Look, you've got U.S. Central Command moving like this. This isn't a press cycle. This is clearly an operational cycle. When assets like this are in place, the hardest move becomes pulling back, because pulling back signals weakness to adversaries and betrayal to allies. This is why this doesn't feel like theater. It feels like a door closing. So here's where we are, guys. I mean, like, the decision tree narrows to only 3 outcomes. So basically you've got strike, stand down, or miscalculate. And the danger isn't only in what Donald J. Trump chooses, it's how Iran reads the silence. Because when a carrier goes dark and force posture tightens, Iran has to guess whether it's deterrence or the opening move. If Trump strikes, Tehran's best option may be controlled retaliation. But history shows retaliation rarely stays controlled once proxies, missiles, and regional politics ignite. If Trump stands down, Iran may claim victory and push harder later. If either side miscalculates timing, you get escalation by accident. This is why the next 72 hours terrifies Tehran. Hesitation can be fatal, but action can be irreversible. Drop a like for the video, subscribe, share this content. We'll see you next time.